Guru Nation, what is up? How's everything going? Facebook. I don't know if Facebook, what's going on. Yesterday we were talking about Facebook. It looks like Facebook live stream might be down. I have no idea. If you're on Facebook, let me know. Is Facebook still having issues? Who knows? What's going on, guys? I've been getting a lot of questions, a lot of comments from people. Put your comments down here too. Somebody just texted me, and anybody can do this, 949-415-6256. Hey, if you're new to the industry and you want a good foundation, should I do the training with one of the big CROs because I've got accepted in that, or should I do CRC with a couple of groups? My goal is to be a CRA. So obviously, if your goal is to be a CRA, the quickest way to get there is to go with the CRO. So if you're lucky enough to have been invited to one of their programs, those are by invite only. I would say take that. That's the way to go. That's the way to go about that one. To me, it's a no-brainer. However, I do think that CRC, I think that the best monitors were former coordinators. Why? Because they have the empathy. They understand what the job entails. It's not easy being a coordinator. I'm about, with my new site, until I hire someone else, I'm about to be a coordinator again. And it really is like a crash course. If you want a crash course in research, just work as a study coordinator. I mean, you're going to learn everything from day one. What's an informed consent? Why is this important? When your monitors come through, they're going to tell you what's important. What do you have in the ISF for me, Dan? Any updates to the ISF? You're going to sit there and be like, what? What are you talking about? Well, anytime a new staff member, anytime there's an amendment, anytime there's changes, trainings need to occur. What are the cascade of events that occur when there's a new training, when there's a new staff member, when there's a new amendment, when there's been a deviation of significant importance to the sponsor? In that case, that would require a CAPA plan. I did a video earlier this morning on that. Hey, Christine Naro, how's it going? Nice to see you, our LICR, Latinos in Clinical Research Ambassador. Yasmina Betuch, how are you doing? How are you guys doing? Let me know where you're watching from, what's going on. And we've been getting like a lot of questions about careers and about fundamentals. And hey, this is... we're having like a renaissance in clinical research. I know I talked to like 3 people so far who went to the conference last week, Society of Clinical Research Sites conference, an in-person conference. Here's the theme from that conference. This is a site conference. Everybody's doing well right now. If you own a site, you're doing well. If you're an established site. If you're a startup site, not so well. My site here in Yuma, we haven't made any money so far. We don't even have a study up and running yet. I'm in startup phase for the site. So we had a site selection. I'm working on the follow-up letter action items. We're going to have a SIV. We're signing our contract. Things will get good too. But if you're like been in this industry for like a year or more, you're doing great. My other sites are doing great right now. So as far as getting studies, getting patients, that's a whole nother kind of topic right there. Is what makes a good site? Okay, getting the studies, having the training, but getting the patients. That's another thing you're going to learn as a CRC, is the importance of patient recruitment and the importance of patient retention. Philadelphia in the house. How's it going, Philly? Have a cheesesteak for me from Alessandro's. Slavica from Serbia. Welcome. My dad's born in Belgrade. I've been there like 6-7 times. Vanessa Williams. How's it going? Nice to see you. I'll be on Clubhouse today with GCP Cafe for networking and tomorrow with Consoli for patient feedback. I'm so glad to see that Clubhouse is still going on and it's still a thing. I think eventually LinkedIn's going to create a Clubhouse, like a social audio, and I think it's gonna siphon off some of the attention from Clubhouse. But while it's going there, guys, if you're trying to network, if you're trying to elevate your career, if you're trying to look for more opportunities, get on Clubhouse. I don't get on there as much anymore, almost if ever, just because I'm so busy now. But I'm not really trying to elevate my career right now. I'm trying to build this site, and that requires me to not be on Clubhouse. That actually requires me to not even do these live streams, but I got to pick and choose my battles. So Clubhouse, fantastic environment for networking. Uh, Chile, my company is helping professionals touch up with their English skills. Follow and recommend your channel. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope my English is acceptable. Yogi, how's it going? So, patient recruitment. Okay, that's one of the fundamentals. You have to understand the art of recruiting and retaining patients. As a CRA, you will never understand this if you were not working at a site level at one point. You just won't. Patients don't just fall out of the sky. Somebody has to work to get those patients, even if they're patients of the doctor's private practice. Somebody, usually the coordinator, has to work to get those patients enrolled in the study. Someone has to talk to them. Someone's got to address their concerns. It's usually the study coordinator. Hi, Yogi. How's it going? Let's see. We got more messages. So put your comments there, guys. Retention's all another thing. What do you do if a patient's in a study and they just don't feel like getting out of bed, right? What do you do in that case? You're the coordinator. You can either say, okay, that's fine. They'll come another time. They'll be out of window. It's a deviation, but whatever. Or you can say, no, look, let me try to figure out why they're not coming. Is it a transportation issue? Is it a childcare issue? The best sites know how to solve problems for their patients, for their study participants. Another thing you'll never learn as a CRA unless you worked at a site level. You'll never know as a CRA unless you worked at a site level. Then things like informed consent and how things work with the IRB and the study startup. Do you know there's an entire industry within clinical research aimed at reducing study startup timelines by streamlining different events with technology? So far, it doesn't work, at least from my experience. Because why? Because there's a coordinator that has to physically go meet with people to get things signed, right? There are e-signatures now, but doctors, they don't do things unless you go in person, from my experiences. So today I'm going 2 of my sub-Is, I'm taking their CVs, and I'm having them sign it and date it because that's one of the action items we need for our follow-up letter for the study. So just like little things like that. Study startup, contract and budget. If you're a coordinator, you might be privy to some of this, usually not. But startup regulatory essential documents. The study sponsor told me, hey, as soon as the contract's executed, we're going to send you all the startup regulatory. Guess what? Now I got to go again in person and get all these doctors to sign everything, right? Even though we're using eSource and eReg, we're still using wet ink signatures. Informed consent, even though we're still using eSource and eReg, informed consent, still wet ink signatures, right? So there's still papers. Like, I know there's some sites that use e-consent. Most sites use paper. Most sites haven't even switched to eSource. I think it's like 80% of sites, if not higher number, are using paper source. Somebody said provide incentives for the patients. Yeah. And look, coordinator is like the ground level. You're going to learn all the fundamentals. That's just regulatory and study startup. Now, when you actually get into the patient visits, you're going to start seeing, okay, what are the study timelines? How do we follow the visit according to protocol? How do we create the source? How do we follow the visit according to protocol? When do we enter the data in the EDC? What do we do when there's an adverse event? What do we do when there's a serious adverse event? When do we get the clinicians involved? How do we follow up on signing labs, assessing for clinical significance, signing ECGs, assessing for clinical significance, coordinating all the assessments from different people that are qualified to do it. How do we do all that? How do we get the blood samples, right? How do we process those blood samples? How do we ship those blood samples? When does it need to be shipped by for it to be delivered the next day? All these things, right? FedEx has a pickup cutoff time of 3 p.m. for next day shipments. So if you're getting a blood draw after 3 p.m., you got to put it in your freezer. You got to put the samples in your freezer because that's not going out. Even if you call FedEx, it's not going out. If you miss the pickup time, you got to run to the nearest FedEx location that accepts those shipment boxes and get it delivered. Because if the sponsor gets it 2 days later, if the lab gets it 2 days later, usually the blood samples are not available to be processed. They're not able to process. They're not able to give you results. They need that blood like on dry ice and fresh, like within 24 hours. So if it takes longer than that, usually they're not able to get accurate results. They make you redo it. That's a protocol deviation. They make you do training. Again, they might make you do a kappa plan. Sponsor may not like that. They may come audit you. What's your process of all this stuff you learn as a coordinator, guys? You don't learn as a CRA. As a CRA, you learn to enforce these things or to look out for these things, but you don't understand unless you've worked at a site the practical aspects of these things. So back to the question, the fundamentals are best learned by doing. This is why my CRA and CRC Academy are doing so well. We give real world internship experience for both. Real world internship experience. Eric Shaw, how's it going? Loaded up on some AQST, some Libervant. Good. The market's taking a dip. All biotechs are dipping. AQST, I have a really good feeling about that for seizures, emergency use of seizures with the oral buccal film. I think I need to talk to the CEO. I want to have them on the show again. 398 is good price point. Namdi says I need some touch up on startup activities per CRO perspective. What the CROs care about is what's taking the site so long. What is it? Is it the contract? Is it not getting the sub-I's availability? Is it not getting the PI's availability? Is it because usually that's why they're not signing things. It's not because they don't want to sign their financial disclosure form or their GCP. It's because they don't have time. So as the CRO hires startup specialists to persuade is the right word. Sites. Work with sites. Get on good terms with the sites that you're working with. Hey, what's taking so long? Can I help you? What do you need help with? Most of the times they can't help you. Most of the time the issue is my clinician's not available. I need to get an appointment with my sub-I's just to go get their CV signed. Now when I get their startup regulatory, I need an appointment with them to get their financial disclosure form signed and them to fill out the delegation of authorities log and get trained, right? Get trained by the PI or me. We need to go in there and train them. We need to schedule appointments with them. That's usually the startup activity. That's usually the startup delays. Another delay might be in the coordinator just being overworked, and like another startup item is IRB approval, and that also requires PI signature, but it usually requires a lot of knowledge from the coordinator. And if you have a coordinator that doesn't know how to answer all those questions, they keep asking somebody what to put down on those forms. The IRB, before the IRB approves any site for the study, the IRB sends the sites a questionnaire. Lucky me, I'll be getting one of these soon. And then you were supposed to fill out community sentiment towards the research. There's like 10 pages on these things. So just by doing that once, you're going to learn so much about the industry. And you don't get to do that. You don't get the opportunity to do that as a CRA. So unless you've been a coordinator first, you really don't learn the fundamentals. Everything starts at the site level. This industry is huge. There's vendors, there's CROs, there's tech, there's AI, there's regulators. All that's all nice, but everything boils down to the site. Can the site do it? Right? Is this practical? And a lot of times the answer is no. Sites are overworked, especially in the 2021 environment. Alan says so true. IRB are no joke. Yeah, and that's with central IRBs. Imagine the sites that have to use local IRBs, like the academic medical centers, where they have to use local IRBs. Those IRBs take forever and find the smallest, minute things they have issues with. Look, on cue, Alan says, especially the local IRBs, they are more detailed. I'm telling you guys the truth. So, coordinator route, this is why our CRC Academy has done so well. This is why our CRA Academy has done so well. It's all about hands-on, right? And the book, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research, we really try to hammer that home. The fundamentals. There's only 3 things you need to worry about. That's basically all of research, besides patients. So patients are the 4th. Source, regulatory, and investigational product. Those are the 3 buckets. Now, sometimes they overlap, right? Because there's IP accountability, IP shipment. Sometimes those go in investigator site file, so those become regulatory. Other times the source, you have like informed consent log, screening and enrollment log. Those are source related things, but they go in the usually investigative site file. One of my very own CRA Academy students was getting confused with monitoring visits versus patient visits. Just because it's the word visit, like something that simple, something that fundamental, you can get mixed up on. Because patient visits have nothing to do with monitoring visits. Patient visits occur as per protocol. Monitoring visits occur as per monitoring plan. The only time they relate to one another is monitors generally won't. I'm I was gone, guys. I'm gone. What happened? I left, but now I'm back. Can you see me? Can you hear me? I think something happened here with my webcam. How do you enroll for the CRA class in the academy? The CRAacademy.com. We still have a few spots left for our October class, actually. The CRAacademy.com. I don't know why the camera's not working. Maybe it's unplugged. What a great live stream, guys. Technology. Okay, there we go. Now I'm back. I know, you guys, I was gone. I don't know what's going on. The internet is very good here. But yeah, even simple things like confusing monitoring visits with patient visits. Yes, they interrelate because if there's no study activity, monitors won't come to monitor. There's just no need for the most part. But patient visits have nothing to do with monitoring visits. And when you're doing a monitoring visit report, you're focusing on patient visits, but you're not focusing on like one patient visit for every monitoring report. You're doing as much as you can for one IMV report. So the robots are good. The algorithms are strong. Technology's back. You might lose me for like 5 seconds, but you're not losing me. You're not losing me more than that. Yes, thank God, LinkedIn user said. There is visual now, thank God. Look, you can cut off my webcam. All I'm going to do is unplug it and plug it back in. This resilience, guys. What other questions we have? Because it's about 20 minutes. I actually have to go I have to work on my follow-up letter action items. There's a few things I got to print out and work on, and then I got to listen to Judy. I get the opportunity to hear Judy from Latinos in Clinical Research present, I think at Socra on some webinar today. So I'm looking forward to supporting my fellow LICR co-founder. But yeah, just wanted to share a little bit about the fundamentals of research. Source, regulatory, investigational product. Those, you can go forever on each of those. You can even become a specialist on each of those. But as a coordinator, if you're at the right site, you kind of get a holistic overview of everything. Sometimes not even just an overview. You get in the trenches on each one of those verticals. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. We got another question. Can you become a CRA if you have a bachelor's degree and also an LPN but no clinical experience? Yes, with my CRA Academy, because we offer a real breast cancer study that my CRO manages, and we have some COVID studies that my CRO manages, but it's really the breast cancer study's been keeping everyone busy. A real breast cancer study that you're going to do during the internship. So yes, you may not get your first job to be a CRA right after my academy. You might do remote site monitor, you might do site startup specialist, but some have gone on. We just had a student yesterday in our Slack channel say, hey, I got a final interview now with IQVIA for CRA. So it happens too. Speaking of CRA, Alan says, would it be a conflict of interest if a W-2 CRA started their own site? Oh, man. The answer is complicated. So the answer is technically yes, especially since the CROs have been consolidating. So now it's impossible to have a site and avoid CROs because they run like 90% of the studies. So you're eventually going to run into your own company. So let's say you have a site. You started it. You didn't tell anyone. Let's say you work for IQVIA. Well, IQVIA has 50% market share maybe of studies. Maybe a little less, but they have a lot. They're the industry leader. So it's just a matter of time before your site gets awarded a study and IQVIA is the CRO. And even worse, what if you're assigned as the monitor for the site because they don't know you own the site? I mean, now you got a huge conflict of interest. So the answer is it's not a conflict of interest until it becomes one. And it could become one very soon. I've actually seen this happen with clients. And then they end up quitting their CRA job. So people are doing it. Technically, it is a conflict. I don't judge. I'm not one to judge, but eventually problems will ensue. And then you're going to have to step down. So that's good. I like ending it on that. Ending it on a positive note. I guess somewhat positive. But it was all in all a good live stream despite the technical glitch we had. All right, we got more. Guys, you're not letting me do my follow-up letter action items, but let's go. I have an interview tomorrow morning. Judy Becerra, not to be confused with Judy Galindo, who I'm going to be watching right now on her Socra webinar. I have an interview tomorrow morning for a position as study coordinator. So nervous. It's a career change, Dan. So important to me. You're my favorite guru. Thank you so much, Judy. Look, we'll end the live stream on this. Judy, you're going to do well, okay? They already know that you're research naive. So if it's a career change. So focus on what kind of studies the site does. So if it's central nervous system, if it's GI, if it's respiratory, focus on those. Then go to Google Scholar and go to, even you can go to WebMD. ClinicalTrials.gov, Google Scholar, WebMD. Learn about the different therapeutic indications that they do studies on. Like learn some of the common meds and learn some of the common assessments for those indications. You'll impress them with that. If you're research naive, that's what you do if you have a study coordinator position. In addition to knowing the fundamentals on my 5-hour video and maybe from my book. But you're going to do a good job. You still have time to prepare. You have all day today. Learn a little bit more about the fundamentals from my video. Maybe go touch up on it. Maybe the book. If you need the help ASAP, get the Kindle. It's only $3.99 right now. Or get the audiobook. And then learn the fundamentals again, refresh, but also look into the therapeutic indications. LinkedIn user says, Judy B, don't be nervous. Go for it with your head up high. Absolutely. Confidence. And what breeds confidence? Knowledge, right? So if the site does schizophrenia, go learn everything there is to know about antipsychotics. Go learn about all the assessments. If the site does a lot of asthma studies, go learn about the asthma medications. Go learn about the efficacy assessments. Go look at the safety assessments. Learn those things, and then you'll impress them because they're going to have to train you on those things anyway. So if you already go into it with a working knowledge already, then you're one step ahead of the game. I've had coordinators I've interviewed, they didn't even know what kind of studies we did. And to me, that's unacceptable because we have a website, and you know our company name. You had time to review. So make sure you do that, Judy. Make sure you get familiar with the company and what the company does, and then learn a little bit about those therapeutic areas. All right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Have a good day. I'll catch you later. I'll do more videos later today. Bye-bye.